Space music. So you're floating around the far side of the moon, no Earth in sight, no radio contact, just you, your crewmates, and the eerie silence of space. The last thing you would expect to hear is a weird whistling noise. And most especially, not the kind that makes your spine tingle like you're in a haunted spaceship. That's exactly what happened to the Apollo 10 astronauts John Young, Eugene Cernan, and Thomas Stafford as they looped around the moon in 1969. With zero communication to Earth on the lunar far side, they started hearing what they later called outer space music. When the strange whistling was reported, it was something that was hard to believe. Naturally, whispers of aliens started swirling. Well, it turned out that the real culprit was a bit more grounded and less extraterrestrial. According to NASA's investigations, the whistling was actually caused by radio interference between the command module and the lunar module's VHF systems. The explanation was less exciting than the possibility of space music. Still, when you're isolated on the dark side of the moon and you hear unexplained sounds, your imagination doesn't exactly wait for the technical manual. For a moment, those astronauts might have truly believed they were not alone. But what's a space mission without a little bit of mystery? Blind light. Imagine closing your eyes to sleep after a long day, only to see streaks of light, glowing blobs, and comet-like flashes dance across your vision in total darkness. Sounds a bit far-fetched, but for astronauts in space, this is the real thing. And they do see lights dance around with their eyes closed. These strange visuals are known as phosphenes, and they've been reported since the early Apollo missions. No matter how tight they shut their eyes, some astronauts still see bursts of light flicker in the blackness. And no, it's not space madness or a trick of imagination. The culprits are high-energy cosmic rays. Out in space, astronauts no longer have Earth's cozy atmosphere to block these particles, so when cosmic rays moving at nearly the speed of light zip through the spacecraft, they sometimes pass right through an astronaut's skull and hit the retina, optic nerve, or even the brain's visual cortex. This then results in the flash of light astronauts see with their eyes closed shut. NASA actually studied this. During the Apollo missions, astronauts used special detectors to match up particle hits with reported flashes. Turns out the universe likes throwing surprise light shows when you're trying to nap. These lights might be harmless, but they can also be very annoying. No one wants to light flashes in their faces when they're trying to sleep. UFO sightings. You know it's serious when the people flying rocket ships start seeing things they can't explain. Astronauts have reportedly seen unidentified flying objects. And no, we're not talking weather balloons or bugs on the lens. We're talking glowing orbs, cigar-shaped crafts, and lights flying in formation in space. Let's start with Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell. His wife Anita had openly claimed that he and others like James McDivitt witnessed UFOs during their missions. Edgar himself became a well-known advocate for disclosure, firmly believing we're not alone. That's not some guy with a telescope in his backyard. That's someone who walked the moon. Then there's Leroy Chiao, doing a spacewalk outside the International Space Station. Suddenly he spots lights in a formation. Not random, but in a line, like an upside-down checkmark. And this happened out in the void with no satellites nearby. No equipment floating past. Just lights. Now, before you start looking up alien welcome phrases, NASA, of course, has explanations. Space debris, optical illusions, meteoroids, they've got a whole list of down-to-earth reasons. Light bends weirdly, reflections get crazy. And there's always the chance that what looks like alien tech is really just weirdly shaped debris from the wrong angle. Still, some sightings stay stubbornly mysterious, unexplained, unresolved. So are aliens real? Who knows? But when the people with the best view of the universe say, yeah, we saw something weird up there, maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't roll our eyes. Because if aliens ever do show up, the guy in cargo shorts grilling hot dogs in his backyard probably won't be the first to see them. An astronaut might be, but if you're still holding out hope that aliens will land in your backyard barbecue, hit like and subscribe. We'll make sure they get the invite. Personality changes. Space changes people, and not just because they come back with cool stories and pictures of Earth from above. We're talking actual personality shifts, brain fog, and what astronauts jokingly call space stupids. Yeah, it's a thing. From the moment they leave Earth, astronauts start dealing with some pretty weird brain stuff. Their anxiety is through the roof, and mood swings swing by every now and then. Some report feeling foggy, forgetful, and disoriented. One second they're solving complex equations, the next they're staring at a wrench like it's a piece of alien tech. And it gets weirder. Long-duration space missions can lead to changes in the brain structure. Fluid shifts in zero gravity affect the way the brain handles balance and spatial reasoning. So astronauts sometimes feel off-kilter or struggle to judge distances. There's even a condition called space-associated neuroocular syndrome, or SANS, which causes swelling behind the eyes and vision problems. It's like your brain and eyeballs are trying to rewire themselves in real time. Then there's the isolation, floating in a tin can with the same few people for months, millions of miles from everything and everyone you know. No fresh air, no pizza delivery, just mission logs and recycled air. Sleep becomes a mess, emotions run high, and the pressure is definitely through the roof. Every move counts when you're in orbit. So yes, astronauts might come back as heroes, but they also might come back a little sleep-deprived, overstimulated, and confused. Because space messes with your head, literally. Space smells. So you finally are in space, but a smell hits you out of the blue. It's not your musty suit or the pee you're about to recycle into water, it's something else. Astronauts consistently describe it as a sharp metallic scent. Think hot metal, welding fumes, or the lingering tang after someone fires a gun at a shooting range. Some say it smells like burnt steak. Others throw in odd comparisons like walnuts and brake pads. So where is it coming from? Well, space itself doesn't have a smell. It's a vacuum after all. But during spacewalks, atomic oxygen, which is a super reactive form of oxygen that doesn't really exist down here, clings to the astronauts' suits. Once they re-enter the spacecraft, the oxygen interacts with the materials inside, and the smell hits you. Scientists suspect the burnt aroma might also be from something called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs, which are carbon-rich compounds created in dying stars. In other words, space might smell like a campfire. The weirdest part is that it's not just one astronaut imagining things. Nearly every crew that's been outside the ISS or shuttle has commented on it. Weird taste. Imagine biting into your favorite spicy noodles and they taste like soggy cardboard. That's life in space for astronauts, where even your go-to comfort meal feels like it's been ghosted by flavor. In microgravity, body fluids don't play with Earth's rules. Instead of chilling in your legs like they normally would, they float upwards, pooling around your chest and face. The result is a puffy face, a perpetually stuffy nose, and a severely dulled sense of smell, which, as any food lover knows, is like losing 70% of your taste. Suddenly, even mac and cheese tastes like warm nothing. Astronauts often describe the culinary experience in orbit as meh at best. That's why hot sauce, wasabi, and anything spicy, it's like liquid gold up there. Tart and tangy flavors, too. Basically anything that can karate kick your taste buds into feeling something. And it's not just about pressure. If food's too bland to be interesting, astronauts might eat less, risking nutritional deficiencies, which is a pretty big deal when you're floating in a tin can 250 miles above Earth. To combat this, NASA's been upping its food game, like providing tastier, rehydratable meals, thermostabilized entrees, and even space-grown lettuce. But still, Earth food hits different. So next time you're enjoying a perfectly seasoned meal, remember, if you were up in space, your lasagna might taste more like paper towels. Phantom limbs. Now here's a plot twist you didn't see coming. Astronauts can feel limbs that don't exist, and not because they've lost them. In space, even fully intact arms and legs can feel off, as if they're floating somewhere else. Of course, like they're not there at all. This bizarre phenomenon is tied to something called phantom limb sensation, usually experienced by amputees who feel as though their missing limb is still present. But astronauts get a space-flavored version. Without gravity constantly pulling on their arms and legs, the brain gets a bit confused. Our brains heavily rely on a steady stream of sensory updates from the floor under our feet to the weight of our own arms. In orbit, that feedback vanishes, so the brain starts making stuff up. Astronauts have reported feeling like their limbs are in entirely different positions that they actually are. Some reach for something with a hand that wasn't where they thought it was. This confusion stems from proprioceptive drift, where your sense of body position starts to slide, like a mental GPS glitching mid-mission. And in the brain's cortical plasticity, which is its talent for rewiring itself in new environments, and voila, phantom limbs in space. It's not usually painful, but it's seriously weird. It's like trying to scratch your head but feeling like your arm is miles away from you. Overview effect. Your ship departs safely from Earth and you are now floating above what you once called home. A glowing marble wrapped in a whisper-thin blue haze, silently spinning in a sea of black. No noise, no borders, just chaos. Just home. This is what astronauts call the overview effect. It's basically a psychological shift that hits when you see Earth from space. It's not just, wow, that's pretty. It's more like an existential awe. And this realization punches you deep in the guts. Like someone yanked you out of the simulation and said, look at what really matters. From that height, things change. The atmosphere looks like a delicate ribbon. It's barely there. You realize how thin the barrier is between us and the void. Wars, borders, petty politics. From up here, they vanish. What's left is a giant reminder that we're all crammed onto one spaceship with nowhere else to go. Astronauts say it rewires them. It stirs up a deep, gut-level need to protect the Earth and care about people they've never met. For some, it's spiritual. For others, it's just humbling. But nearly all who felt it say the world never looks the same again, not even when they're back home in traffic. So yeah, maybe we all need 5 minutes in orbit, just enough to remember how rare and fragile this place really is. It's like finally zooming out on Google Maps and realizing you've spent your whole life arguing over a pixel. Weird tears. You can cry in space, but your tears won't fall like a dramatic movie scene. In microgravity, tears don't stream down your cheeks. They just sit there, clinging to your eyeballs like clingy exes who refuse to let go. Without gravity to pull them down, your tears gather into little floating blobs. At first, it's just a watery shimmer. But give it a moment and suddenly you've got a mini space puddle hovering around your eye sockets. Not exactly the most glamorous cosmic breakdown. Those tears do more than linger. They can sting as well. It's like having spicy sadness. The salty liquid just pools and sticks, blurring your vision until you wipe it away with a towel or tissue. That's not exactly the kind of tears you want to have when emotions are running high. You're far from home, away from your friends, from family, but space won't even allow you to have a good cry in peace because physics doesn't care about your feelings. Space height. Picture this. You wake up one morning floating in zero gravity, and just like that, you're 2 inches taller. No stretching, no yoga, no miracle supplements, and of course, no bone-breaking surgeries. Just microgravity doing its thing. In space, astronauts actually grow. Thanks to the lack of gravity squishing them down, their spines decompress and stretch out like a spring that's finally being let loose. We're talking about a 3% increase in height. So if you're 6 feet tall on Earth, you might hit 6'2" or more in orbit. But don't get too excited because this growth spurt doesn't last long. Once astronauts return to Earth, gravity comes back like, all right, fun's over, and compresses their spines right back down. It's like the universe's weird version of Cinderella at midnight. Except instead of losing a glass slipper, you lose your bonus inches. NASA actually tracks this closely because, believe it or not, those extra couple inches can make a big difference when squeezing into tight spacecraft seats or fitting into a spacesuit. You don't want to grow mid-mission and suddenly not fit in the re-entry capsule. So next time you wish you were just a little taller, remember, astronauts do it without even trying. But they also float in a metal tube 250 miles above Earth while eating rehydrated mac and cheese. You just pick your struggles.